Hey there, everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining me. I hope you guys are doing well today. It's a pretty nice day here, so I can't complain. Today we're going to talk about Match Me Abroad Season 1, Episode 12. It's just that I'm terrified. So, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and, subscribe and all the fun stuff. Today, I think I'm going to start out with Michelle. Her and her date are starting off in the kind of convertible type limo car, and it just reminds me of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So, she likes her date. She thinks his accent is sexy, and she's a sucker for accents. They're picking out the masks that were on the table for their date. She decides to go with the Lacey type one, the Lacey plague doctor, which I think that was meant for the woman, I guess. So she's also, intrigued by this choice of date. And they walk in and there's like whips and roses and handcuffs and candles and light bulbs. And, she can already tell that this conversation's going to get sexual. But she's impressed with this guy's sense of humor at the date, and, he's adventurous. She doesn't think most men would go with the flow like this. And I think they would. It seemed like just fun. So, they start pointing out and questioning the different props on the table. And then there's a bang at the door and like a little ding. And here comes Katerina in a mask. She says her name is Mrs. Matchmaker. And, that's her dungeon master name, I guess. She said she doesn't usually go on first dates with clients, but she doesn't want Michelle to waste time. So she's gonna, ask some questions to help them get to know each other. She has them like mask up so they can reveal their secrets. And she's like, oh, what's the weirdest place you've made love? He says a forest, and she's like, oh, mine's just a car. She asks about sexual boundaries, and he's real funny. He says, the light bulb on the table. Michelle tells us that, she likes anybody who can talk about sex, and she's just more attracted to him already. Katerina asks, is there anything that you want your partner to know about you? And Michelle's like, I need someone to keep up. I have a very high sex drive, and like no one else can keep up with her in her relationships, apparently. He is, I believe, in his interview and says, she's very open-minded and American, and he likes that. She asked, what's the biggest life lesson you received? And he said, just during the pandemic, he was very lonely. And that's why he decided to contact a matchmaker, because he didn't want to feel that lonely anymore. And Michelle can relate, and she says, she hasn't really dated since her dad passed. And, it would have helped to have a partner to hold her hand during that time. So she kind of gets what he's saying. And, with a ring of the bell, the game is over. Katerina thought it went well. And she thinks that they would be a good match if they both decide to invest in a potential relationship. They both enjoyed the date. They're all smiles. And then we find out Michelle is leaving tomorrow. So this guy offers to take her to the airport. And she's like, yeah, they can get to know each other more. And I don't understand why she would have a date the night before she leaves, if she's trying to find someone to be with. Like, I would want to go at least on another date or something. It just seemed weird to set up a date for the last night you're there. But it's not me, I guess. And, she wants to see him again, and she'd like to see where it goes. And that's pretty much all we have of her. It was kind of like a fun date. It's something I would have fun with, I think. I'm not understanding why these people are going on dates with new people the night before they leave. It seems, I don't know, like it wouldn't matter. Okay, let's move on to one of my favorite cast members, Stanica. We finally get back with them at the romantic date to see what the next step is and, where they're both at. He says she got his mom's approval, so that's a good sign. And, moving to the next step is serious. And he says they should make it official. Like, take him as he is or not, it's the offer. She has a sip of wine and a smile. And it takes her a minute, but she does say yes. And now they're officially together. They're a couple. And I am so happy for her. This is her first official relationship. And she just never would have thought that going, somewhere else to a different country would lead to her official relationship. So then she's asking him, how he feels about the distance because she's leaving tomorrow. And he's sad, it's going to be hard, but he wants to come to the US and meet her family as well. And he would love to kiss her. And she says, even though they haven't kissed yet, she already knows that they have the good chemistry. She just knows. And, he points out that he respects her and, she's going to have to come back and get to know him better and they're going to have to share a bed. And she's like, oh, are you trying to get me in bed already? He's like, no, that's for the next step when you come back. He says, life in the bedroom is very important. And she's like, I already know you screw like a rabbit. And she's like, well, how do you know? I guess he just gives off those vibes. But he's confident he knows how to make a lady happy. And he's ready to move to the second stage, the happy ending. She came here looking for love, and now she has a whole relationship. And, Nina still has her 100% success rate. And Noradine, has a bar to keep up with. He set it high already. And, before she came here, she gave up on love. So she's happy to know that love is out there. And she's looking forward to Noradine visiting her. She puts out the warning to the ladies to stay out of the DMs because these two, they are off the market. So, speaking of Nina's success rate, let's move on over to Mark. He's meeting up with Nina. He's been better. He's pretty down and depressed, I would say. He's upset that he went to talk to Huda and she never showed up. She just left him standing on the corner, with the vendors. And this is his last night in Morocco and he's just sad he doesn't have good news for Nina and that he was ghosted. He tells her that she was mad that he was going to date other people. And he was going to tell her that he wouldn't go on other dates with someone else that she set him up with. If he was only there a couple more days, he would go out with anyone else anyway. Oh, yeah, if he was there a couple more days, he wouldn't have went out with anyone else anyways. So I don't know why it was a big deal for him to accept the ultimatum. Like I said, it's his last night. It's not like they're there for a long time. So Nina tells him it wasn't his fault in that sense. He came there to meet multiple people and Huda knew that. She knew what she was getting herself into. And if she found out she didn't like it, that just kind of sucks. And she says, maybe her issue is that she gave you an ultimatum and you didn't answer her. And, he says, well, maybe, but he's scared his whole life was going to change. And, people just always let him down. He knows that, people can trust him, but he can't always rely on them in return. And it just takes him a while to get to that trusting spot because so many people have disappointed him. Nina says she hasn't, seen this side of Mark, and she thinks that he should have showed the vulnerable side to Huda. And, Mark just feels like he should have told Nina more about his issues, but he was just embarrassed. He's sick of going on solo vacations, and he's just going to have to open up and rely on someone and trust someone to, be there for him. He, went there looking for love. He thought he found it with Huda, but he was afraid to commit, so here he is. And I don't know why he was afraid if, his other date probably would have taken place on the last night he was there. He wouldn't have felt more for that person than the girl he went on 2 dates with. So, Mark asked Nina, if he texts her, if she's going to respond. And she's like, well, yeah, for business. And he's like, oh, what? I was going to take you to lunch. So, he's sad, he's leaving for home with nothing. He's going home to nothing, and he's just been humbled by this whole experience. He thinks that he showed up there looking for a Moroccan woman who was Americanized, basically. And he just learned that he likes the American lifestyle, and we just aren't the same. He doesn't think he knew that before, that it would be so different over there. And, he's going to keep looking for love at home. Hopefully he gets a happy ending love story. I'm sure plenty of women want to slide into his DMs and give him babies at this point. He was a pretty decent guy for the most part. I think he rolled with the punches, and he seemed positive through everything. And I did feel bad for him at the end there. All right, next up, let's move on over to our guy Harold. And he's at the table with Michaela, and he's ready to ask his important question. And thank the universe that this man just asked her to be his girlfriend. And unfortunately, she just said she can't, that it's just too much too quick. And they're going to see, but that's way too fast for her. And I can respect that. I wouldn't have accepted either. So he's like, well, I didn't propose to her right away. He wanted to test the waters a little. And he's just shocked that she said no, and he thinks he read her wrong. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that he was reading that she likes him, because she does. But, I mean, they've only been together maybe 5 hours in total. They haven't talked a whole lot. That's just not the time to commit to someone. And she says that. She says she needs to know someone for more than a week. And he says he understands. And she thanks him for understanding her. But, I don't think he really does understand fully. In her interview, she says she likes to spend time with him, but she just felt scared. And then she tells him, we'll enjoy today. She's just happy to spend time with him. Harold says, her saying no is hard to take. He thinks the language is a factor in her not understanding where he's coming from. But I don't think that's true at all. I think he's trying to rationalize what's going on here, because she speaks pretty well English, pretty good English, and it's not a language thing. She just doesn't understand. He is very anxious attachment type, and he needs that reassurance that she's going to be there and wait for him and commit to trying to date him. He needs all the answers now. She doesn't understand where he's coming from in his eyes, and she understands that he likes her, but she doesn't understand he already loves her. And I don't think he loves her. I think he's infatuated by a woman who shows him such understanding and caring and communicates with him well. And he says, if they weren't meant to be together, they wouldn't have been matched together. And I don't think he knows that this has been all trial and error from all the matchmakers. And even his first date was pretty horrible. And had she like went along with it, he probably would have felt like the same thing. Oh, that she matches for a reason. But right now he feels like the first date, was a mismatch. So obviously matchmakers mess up at times. She tells him that they have many things in common, and that's great. And she doesn't want to hurt him, but she needs more time to get to know and talk to him. And then they get the food, and she's like pumped and excited about this food. She's like, oh, I only eat bread and eggs at home. And he's like, that's what I've been eating alone for 20 years. Different food, but the same thing. That's not really what she meant. And that's the thing. Like, he doesn't even know what her lifestyle is, how she eats, what she has for breakfast. That's something you should know more about a person before you just commit to them. So I didn't expect her to say yes to the proposal. I'm a little surprised she didn't say yes to being the girlfriend, but honestly, I wouldn't have if I had just seen someone twice. He's, talking about eating home alone, lonely meal, simple and lonely. I think he's sad to go back to being alone. But I'm wondering, like, didn't he live with his parents up until, I don't know, a few months before this? But I guess, like, they just didn't eat together. When I lived with my family, we had dinner together every night, Actually, I was in charge of dinner. So I'm a great little housewife. I can tell you that. He says this date was good, but he's disappointed that she needs more time to be his girlfriend because he's just ready. He's not sure what to do at this point because they like each other. And he's like, yeah, I was going to sleep at your house, but I guess I'll get a hotel or something. And she's like, yeah, you definitely need to do that. Like, her house is a mess. She's not ready for company, but she'll see him tomorrow. She's going to call him in the morning. And he's like, that would be wonderful. And I swear he was trying not to cry. I think he felt like his whole life was crashing down around him. And he was like that meme of the dog with the whole, like, surroundings on fire. And it's like, this is fine. I'm fine. Poor guy. She's like, yeah, there's a hotel a few minutes away. And now he just feels like he doesn't know how to salvage this. And he just has 24 hours to talk the future with her and make it more tangible. So next week, I think we're going to see his Hail Mary attempts to get her to commit to him. And it might scare her away completely. Like, I think she's a great person, but stuff like that freaks people out. And I just wish, and I know it's impossible for him, that he could just enjoy some time with her and keep talking. Because it takes time to build up trust in a relationship with someone. It's not like, oh, we both like Star Trek and now we're going to get married. But for him, it is like that because his head doesn't process all the emotional stuff. It's very technical and businesslike. So we'll see what happens with that next week. I hope he doesn't get hurt too badly. But I don't think that she would do or say anything to hurt him that badly. She's pretty good at explaining things to him. So let's hope for the best with that. All right, last and least, I want to talk about this guy, Chad. So, Chad, he's meeting up with Maria for the second date. They're going four-wheeling. He's like, this is the first time I've dated two people at once. They're both gorgeous and nice. And, I almost fell over when he said, but looks aren't everything. I don't think he believes that, but he said it. He says that, Maria is the person he's most likely to bring home to his mama. So he decided he's going to end things with Beba and focus on Maria. So I guess he really isn't dating two people at once. He made a choice pretty quickly. Maria shows up And she looks almost exactly like Beba. I had to rewind it and double check. I mean, they're both beautiful and they don't look exactly alike, but they were pretty similar. I had to double take. You know, Chad's just tickled to be going on another date with her. The first date, you know, he was worried she didn't think he knew how to have fun. So today he's going to show her he does know how to do that. He tells her, you know, back home they ride four-wheelers, they play in the mud. So that's what they're going to do today. She seems cool with that. She's excited. And she's just as pretty as Chad remembers. So they get geared up and the guy tells them how to run the machines and he gives them hair nets. And I'm pretty sure that's like to prevent lice, most likely, and other stuff. And, you know, she says she's excited to go on another date with him. But she was nervous because after the first date, it sounded like all he likes to do is work. But, you know, so that being said, she thinks it's sexy that he plans something fun for her to do. They're riding around, having a good time, laughing, getting tiny little speckles of mud on their faces and clothing. Nothing too crazy with the mud. And then they pull up to a nice little view. And, you know, he says that as important as it is for her to have fun today, he has like some questions he need to ask about her feelings. And, you know, is she going to move to the U.S. or what? Because this is the 1.5 date mark and she should know that by now. Because he knows that if she doesn't want to move, this isn't going to work out. She's like, oh, do you like the view? And he does. He likes the cows because they're a country thing. And he's like, you know, I could live out here, but I just make such great money with my job. And then he segues into like, so how would you feel about moving to the U.S.? And she's like, no, she doesn't want to do that. You know, she wants to stay in Colombia because she's going to school. And this man, this selfish, he's not even a man-child, was like, I wasted time going to school and then I got a better job, you know, making more money than what I went to school for. I think that if I'm going to be partnered with someone, I'm going to need them to want me to better myself, encourage me to stay in school. And I think this triggered me because my first boyfriend, we got together when I was 16. We moved in together when I was 18. And I was going to college. And I ended up like failing some classes, getting on academic probation, all this stuff because he was so insecure about how I was spending my time. Like when I was home doing homework, he would get upset that I wasn't like focusing on him. If I had to go to the school for a couple hours because I didn't have internet to do my work, he would get upset. And eventually I just failed out and didn't go back. And do you think I'm with that guy anymore? No. We made it like 2 more years after that because obviously he was controlling. So I think that bothers me because I feel like women shouldn't put off their education for a relationship or a man. And I wish somebody would have told me that, you know, when I was going through it. So that definitely triggered me in this episode because I know how wrong it is. And she does too, luckily. And she's like, yeah, but I like to study and studying's very important. And he's like, yeah, that's something they can't take from you. And he doesn't blame her. But he still feels like they have a future. The producer asked her if she would move to the States. And she's like, you know, she wants to get to know him better and everything. But at this time, no. It's a hard no. But, you know, he's like, do you want to keep hanging out this evening? And she's down. So they go to turn back. Chad has a flat tire, so they get to ride back together. I'm sure he was so upset by that. He said this doesn't feel like his past 3 engagements. Like in the past, he would have went and bought a ring by now. But, you know, when you know, you know. And he thinks he knows. So they decide to meet up for dinner. He really needs to know how Maria feels about him. He's leaving soon. You know, he wants to know her feelings and possibly get a kiss. I'm sure he does. He would love that beautiful specimen of a woman to kiss him. That would make his entire life because she's so gorgeous. Which she is. I'm not saying it sarcastically because she's not. I just can't stand his attitude about things. So, he said, deep breaths, Leslie. Okay. So he said, Juan told him before this date not to rush things, and he's basically throwing that plan out the window. He can't take it slow forever. I mean, this is the second date with her after all. They should be getting married on the third date, don't you think? So, she walks in and she is beautiful. I love me a woman in all black. I love the dress. Gorgeous. I loved it. She said Chad has a lot of things she likes. He's a good guy. He's noble. He loves his family. But in a lot of other ways, they're so different. They sit down. He gives her a gift. It's a watch. She likes it. You know, he's trying to show her that he's serious and he doesn't play games. And then he's like, yeah, I got my mom the same watch, but in red. I'm like, so that's a great idea because when this blows up in his face in a few minutes, and then he goes home and he looks at the watch his mom is wearing, he can remember this moment. And he deserves to, because I hope he learns from this. So, moving on from the mom's watch, he's like, do you want to meet my mom or say hi? And he pulls out his phone. He's just going to call her right there. And she's like, no. And he's like, are you sure she wants to say hi to you? And you just know this man called his mama before this and was like, she's the one, Mom. I'm going to have her call you. You got to hear her. And now he's going to have to say, well, it's our second date, so she didn't want to meet my mother yet. So she keeps telling him no, she can't. And he's like, you know, are you sure she really wants to say hi to you? And she just keeps saying no. Finally, he gives up. I don't know why women have to say no 37 times before a man will get it through his head that we don't want to do something. But it made it through eventually, I guess. She just says, you know, she's shy. Also, it's too fast to be introduced to his mom. But she doesn't want to make him feel bad or, you know, sad. And he's like, well, do you see something with me? And she's like, well, why are you asking that? He's like, do you like me? Do you care about me? You know, all the things. Do you want a white picket fence and a puppy? And, you know, he's met her twice now, so how could she really have, like, a deep care for him? Like, she's trying to get to know him, and he's making it impossible with all this pressure. And I think she just needs to run away at this point. And, you know, she thinks he's a good person, but she doesn't understand why he's asking these things. And he just wants to know how she feels, because he wants to be with her, and he wants to know how she feels. And she's like, you know, let's cheers first before I tell you. She's like, I met you. You're a wonderful guy. He cuts her off. He's like, what are you getting to? She's like, we have different lives. He gets up. He's like, okay, that's all I need to know. I don't got time for this. And she's like, wait, let me talk. He wouldn't let her say nothing. He's throwing a tantrum like a child. Actually, my children who are level 3 autistic act better than this when they're upset. And that's saying a lot because we have some rough days. So, you know, he takes off like a child. She's like, why can't we be friends? He doesn't want to be just friends at this point. And that's fine. He doesn't have to be. But he's being a real asshole right now. And I think he should be shamed for that. He just storms away, cussing, huffing, puffing. He didn't come here to make friends. And she doesn't know his past, but this happens to him all the time. And he just don't play games. He is playing a game. He's playing the game of, I'm not going to get to know you. You're beautiful. Come be in my house and make me dinner. That's all he wants. And nobody's going to sign up for that after 2 dates. Especially, look at how he acts. The second she tried to say anything, he shut her down, walked away, stormed off. What's going to happen? Say they got together 5 years from now, or they have a child. And she has, like, a criticism or suggestion about his parenting. He's gonna blow up. Or she wants to say, like, I wish I saw you more. And he'd be, I told you before we left. Like, toxic. This man needs therapy, not a matchmaker. And even Juan couldn't save him. Juan tried. He went and did all the bro things. Look what happened. Completely disregarded everything he said. So, I'm sure she didn't have time to learn about his past. And he was ready to bring her home to mom. He wasn't like, look, let me tell you about my past and I want to hear everything about you. No, he had already known, right? He knows nothing about her except she's beautiful. And after the second 4-wheel date, he learned that she was a student. And he told her that was a waste of her time. So she's beautiful and everything else about her doesn't matter. He's not interested. And anything she's doing to better herself is a waste of her time because she could be out on the farm or the field watching him mow grass. So Chad's the problem. I don't think a matchmaker can save him. He thinks he's 40 years old and doesn't have time for bullshit. And you know what? Neither do I. I saw the preview for next week, and I'm probably going to hate him even more by the end of that. So all I wish on him is therapy and everything else he deserves for putting this poor, sweet woman through this. And I'm sure Beba is feeling like she dodged a bullet. For sure. So, I hate when these people get me so upset. That's why it's good television, right? Thank you if you made it this far. Let me know what you guys thought. I'm real happy for Stanica. I'm a little nervous for Harold, but none of us can save him at this point. Chad, I got nothing for him. I do feel bad for Mark. That sucks. Maybe next time he'll pick, he should go to Columbia. Him and Juan, they could get along great. He'd find him someone perfect, I bet. Maybe season 2. I believe there's one more episode of this show. And then I'm not sure if this, what is it called? Couples Retreat or the 90 Day. I gotta get the title down. The new one with the old couples who are falling apart. I'm wondering if that starts after this show ends. Hopefully. I'm half excited to see that. I know that Ed and Liz are on there. I don't care about that. Michael and Angela, she makes me sick. She's so abusive and people just enable her. So I'm not excited to see that. I'd be excited if Michael's actually at the place in Florida, but I doubt it. I do like Yara and Jovi. I feel like he gets a bad rap because he went and took her to the strip club, but I think he made up for that. I think he's a great dad, and hopefully they can work it out. I saw that Kalani and Asuelu will be on there, and I love her. She's so funny, and he's great. I don't know that I like their relationship. Like when he called her the B word in front of her mom and said, women have it easy who stay home with kids. Y'all already know that got to me. So we'll see what they're up to. And the other couple I saw on there so far, Molly and Kelly, which I am so surprised that they're going to be on there considering all the mess that's been going on in her personal life and her daughter suing him for assaulting her. It wasn't an essay thing. It was more like he attacked her or hit her. Something. They're going to court through that. They've been dragging each other all over the internet. And now they're on this couples therapy type show. So, interested to see that, I guess. Hopefully, I don't know if there's going to be any more couples. We'll stay tuned for that. And also, my next videos will be catching up on The Other Way, so I should have a couple of those coming for you. Make sure you subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you next time. Oh, don't forget to take deep breaths, and have a great day. Bye.